Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast. I'm Joshua.
I'm Kim. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is a new year.
Happy New Year.
Sayonara 2023.
I think 2023 was it was a pretty good year. I don't know that I have any complaints about 2023. There have been some years in the recent past that I've been like, I'd be okay not repeating those again. But overall, I think 2023 was a good year.
23 was fine. I've seen all kinds of things on social media about how terrible 2023 was. But it's also social media, and people, I think, like to be bigger than, make things bigger than they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of think overall 2023 was pretty decent. I mean, inflation kind of let up a little bit. It wasn't as intense as 2022. Politically, I feel like tensions have not been as hot, at least in this country.
Mm-hmm.
It's still there, but I don't think it's as bad as it has been.
Right.
Weather was nice.
I mean, it was great. We had a fairly mild summer, a fairly mild winter. I don't know if that's amazing for the land, but felt great.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were some other things that happened that were kind of not awesome.
Sure. I mean, I think in every year you have moments that aren't fun, but I think in general, 2023 was a pretty decent year.
I think so too. I mean, Josh, you had huge life event happen.
Yeah, I got married. That's pretty wild. Especially because the year before, that wasn't really on my radar. And then
Here you are.
A year later, there I am married. And now it's 7 months married. That's pretty crazy.
You're like an old pro now.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. What else do you have one of the things we want to talk about is just our thoughts of the podcast over the past year, but do you have any other big moments that stand out to you that aren't podcast related?
Yes, I adopted a dog in 2023 who now feels like I couldn't imagine him not in our family.
Oh,
so that's my pretzel dog, and he's amazing.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, also, Henry, who you heard from last week, finished high school, which I feel like is a pretty big milestone.
That's pretty significant.
Yes.
Did the podcast studio open in 23? No. Okay.
In 2022.
I couldn't remember when that opened, but
mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so many, it's amazing when you look back. I feel like 23 was I don't feel like it flew by, but there was also a lot of big moments that happened. And so I think that helps put markers in time where I'm like, okay, this happened and then this happened. And it doesn't feel quite as my gosh, what happened? It was a whirlwind. I've had years that felt like that, and 23 didn't feel like that. And so I think that's good, because coming out of COVID, there was a few years there where it just felt like, how did we get here? How is it already this time? And so I feel like 23 was this really nice, the pendulum of chaos swung back towards the middle, I think.
True. Hey, can I bring up something? This has nothing to do with the year in recap, but something that I've just noticed recently. I'm curious to know if you have also experienced this. Same with the listeners. 2023, I feel like I don't remember if it must have been the beginning of November was the last time we did a time change for daylight savings time. And have you noticed like nobody has adjusted this time around? Have you noticed this at all?
Uh, not not really, but like give me an example and maybe it'll make sense.
Okay, so in my household we have multiple generations. So it's not just my husband and my kids. It's my dad is there, and my husband's mom was staying with us for a couple of months. And I was just talking to people last week, um, multiple people who are not in our household, about the time change, and everyone still feels like they haven't adjusted. And it's been 2 months.
Hmm.
And I just find it kind of bizarre. So it's like 6 o'clock and everyone thinks it's like 8:30 or 9, maybe 10 o'clock. Like it feels like way later
Yeah.
than it is. And things just haven't adjusted. And to me, it's really interesting because you and I, we weren't even in the country when the time change happened.
Right.
And so then we came back and readjusted back to this time, but I still feel like I'm off.
I
Has that
think when
happened? Have
you,
you noticed that?
yeah, when you phrase it like that, I think that that makes sense. Um, but is it just because like it gets dark so early that your internal clock, like, does this happen every time this?
That's the thing. Yes, it's because it gets dark so much earlier, I think, but also I can't remember another time where I didn't actually adjust,
Uh,
where it felt
yeah.
so off. And it feels like way off. It doesn't feel like an hour off. It feels like hours off. And I find
Hmm.
that fascinating because, again,
Yeah.
it's not just the people in my household. I've spoken to a few other people as well who are like, I don't know what it is about this year, but it just isn't like settling.
Yeah, I think I understand the like not settling, the time feeling wonky. Like I understand that for sure.
Okay, so then it makes me wonder what is happening. Like, what is it about this time, like this occurrence,
Mhm.
that it hasn't settled with us? I could get it if it was just me, right? Like something is off with me. But if it's so many people and it's only an hour difference, like that's not a huge time change. Us adjusting from South Africa time to Central time, that's 8 hours. That's a big adjustment. But I had a couple weeks, and I mean, within the week, I was fine when I came back,
Yeah,
except that I still feel off from the time that's here.
I think it's interesting.
I do too. Okay, I know that was not what we were talking about today, but
Yeah.
this is something that happened in 2023
Yeah.
that is different. And I can't put my finger on it, but I wonder what happened.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I don't know
But
either.
I think it makes what you're saying makes sense. I don't know that I've like really thought it through as much, but it makes sense to me. Like, yeah, just something feels strange with time. But, you know, we've been sitting here for months talking about there's some shift coming, something's changing, we don't know what it is. So I suppose we shouldn't be surprised if we're the ones prophesying that something's changing.
Uh, true. Very true. Okay, so let's get on with podcast recap. So first of all, I feel like we had a great 2023 with the podcast.
We did.
We uh we saw a lot of growth. We saw a lot more interaction from you guys, the listeners. We got to talk to a lot of people. Josh, you want to give some stats on this?
Yeah. Um, so we sort of talked about this a couple different times, but like guests were a huge part of 2023 for the Market Mystics. Um, so we had 20 unique guests, but we had 24 episodes with guest appearances and more if you count the book club, which wasn't part of our normal episodes and you had to be part of our Discord community to be on there. There's more episodes there that had guests with it. And the book club is something that was new. But like just the fact that we had 20 unique guests. Like, there's 52 weeks in a year, and having 20, that's a little less than half of the weeks we had someone on with us. That's amazing to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. What do you think when you look at that list?
I'm kind of surprised that we had that many.
Mm,
Like, yes, they were on and we got to meet them all. Some of them we knew before, some of them we didn't, but it seems like a significant list. Have you
yeah.
ever heard I don't know, what people say that you can only actually know 60 people?
Hmm,
Like the human capacity is 60 people to know. Um,
sure.
so it's interesting to me that we had 20 different people on this year. And if you know, I've been told that there's this flaw within me that I think everyone wants to be my friend. But most of these people, I'm like, I would love to talk to them again. Like, I would
Yeah.
like to actually know them. And so, in comparison to the 60-person thing, uh, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty amazing, like when I just look at it. Like I want to read the list. So if you're a new listener and you weren't around for all of 23, there is a playlist on our YouTube called interviews where I think all of these episodes are linked, so you can just go check them out. But we had Kim's son Henry. I'm going to go in like reverse order. We had Arun Bolchadani. We had Paul Young. We had Kim's husband, Jason. We had Jeff join us, Jeff Demansky join us. We had Fiorella Giordano, I think is how you say her name. We had Gil Hodges on twice. That's fun. Mike Parsons, Michael Keene. We had Dr. Craig Farney join us. He actually joined us 3 different times, and one of the episodes was like amazing, and we just had this great conversation going that we split it in 2 parts. So he has 4 different episodes with us. We had Tommy Miller, we had Truth Seeker, Mike Popovich, and he was kind enough to do a bonus little activation with us, which is a lot of fun. Mark Wilburn was on with us, and he was actually a guest that was on in 2022 as well. So he's been with us twice.
Mm-hmm.
We had my wife Bree on. We had Rose Kaufman on with us, Sean Hamlin on with us, Yana Sanders and Darla Fields on, Camille Holstein. Like, that's a pretty great list. And
Mm-hmm.
we were counting it up in 2022 that we had, I think, 7 episodes with guests. And so a pretty significant increase.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. One of my favorite stats is how many different countries our podcast has been listened to in. And so between audio only and YouTube, 52 countries.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? I'm going to read you. Okay, I'll read you the top 5 and then I'll read you the bottom 5. Okay, so top 5 was the US, Australia, United Kingdom, South Africa, and Canada. All of those are not surprising to me. Are they to you?
Not overly surprising, no.
Yeah. The bottom 5, so they have the fewest listens, but we did get them, were Moldova, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, and Sweden.
That's pretty surprising, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are 52 countries. I don't even know that if you asked me to name 52 countries just off the top of my head, that I would actually be able to do it. I do know that many countries, but I don't know that I could just list them off the top of my head. So I feel like
Yeah.
this is kind of a lot.
It's 26% of countries that are recognized by the UN that listen to us. Like 26, a quarter. That's pretty amazing that we had in 2023. That's pretty astounding, actually.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. I don't know that we could have like downloaded an episode and listened in many of those countries to like up our to do it ourselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? I only had South Africa and the US this year. And they were our top two countries. And so I certainly couldn't have done all of those. So
Yeah.
just I find that super interesting. And I don't even know people from most of these places,
Hmm.
you know?
I, right. Yeah. I mean, there's a handful of countries that we know people from, and it's not surprising that they've listened a couple times.
Right. Like top five, I know people from all those countries. Right.
Yeah. Beyond that, it's a little surprising
I mean,
and
okay,
amazing. Thank
right.
you
So
so much.
right, hear this. Germany, Singapore, New Zealand, Nigeria, Mauritius, Zimbabwe, Switzerland, the Netherlands, France, Ghana, Mexico, Hungary, Kenya, Spain, Ireland, Malaysia, Namibia, Finland, Italy, Norway, Austria, India, Japan, Philippines, Romania, Uganda, UAE, Argentina, Belgium, Bulgaria, Chile, Cameroon, Fiji, Hong Kong, Haiti, Indonesia, Israel, Jersey, Sri Lanka, Malawi, Poland, Russia, Sweden, Thailand, Taiwan, South Korea, and Moldova.
That's amazing. That's
It like
amazing.
blows my mind.
Yeah. Thank you,
That's
listeners.
yeah. Heck yeah, it's super humbling. And I'm glad that, well, I hope that someone from each of those places has found some value
Mhm.
in at least something we've said.
Definitely. Definitely. I think it's so interesting to like see the progression. Like when we first started the podcast, we had a lot of I would say our emphasis was probably on like the audio only. Like we didn't really do a lot that was visual. We still don't do a ton that's visual, but like, our focus was definitely on kind of that audio only side. And but in 2022, YouTube or 2023, I'm sorry, 2023, YouTube became our number one platform of people that watched. I mean, like over 50,000 views, over 10,000 hours watched. That's pretty amazing.
For sure.
Pretty amazing that people like really invested that much time with us. Like it's like I don't know, it warms my heart, or I don't know what the right phrase is, but it's like wow, like I'm so honored that our listeners would do that with us.
Right. That's wild. That's how many hours? That's 28 hours per day if you average it out of YouTube, of our YouTube videos being watched.
It's amazing.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Crazy. I thought this was interesting on YouTube. The top searches in how people found us was spiritual awakening stories. They searched how spirituality changed my life and life after spiritual awakening. I
That's
think
pretty
there's a common
there's a
theme.
theme. There's a theme there. That's great. And I think it's interesting that became our 2023 like searches, because that was not our 2022 searches.
Heck no, it wasn't.
So it's kind of amazing.
It is kind of amazing. That's wild. So our top platform was YouTube, but we also have our number 2 and number 3. So Apple Podcasts was for audio only. That was number 1 by far. And then Spotify came in at our number 3 platform on how people find us.
And I remember, we didn't pull this up right now, but I remember when Spotify Wrapped came out, we had one for the podcast. And it was kind of like, it was kind of impressive too. Like there wasn't I remember like one of the things was like, there was like 10 people who on Spotify, we were their number one podcast. And it was like, man, like that's
Whoa.
just so, it's so humbling to me. Like I know it's not a million people or whatever, but like just the fact that we're anyone's number one podcast is like, wow, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Did you talk about how many episodes we had this year?
I did not.
Okay, so we had 103 episodes. If you know our schedule, we post twice a week. So Mondays and Thursdays, a new episode comes out. That means we only missed 1 week
One
or
day.
one day, one episode.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive because the year before, so season 1, we missed quite a few.
I think we had 98, 99, something like that.
Right. So there were just weeks or days that we weren't able to do it. Somebody was sick or somebody was out of town or whatever it was. But this year we also had those things happen, but we kind of got in a rhythm and got a little bit ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I prefer that. I'm somebody who like I thrive on being ahead.
And scheduled.
And scheduled. And so I'm really proud of that number.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing because, like we talked about, I got married, I went on a honeymoon. We were in South Africa several times.
Mm-hmm.
And just like family things or being sick or like, and we still only missed one day. Like we were on top of it. And that's, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
for sure. What else, Joshua?
Man, I don't know. I think it's just when you sit back and you look at this, it's just kind of humbling. Like that's how I keep feeling. Is like I feel humbled, I feel honored, and I'm like, this is it's pretty amazing that that's how our year has gone. What do you have you had any thoughts on the like upcoming year? Like do you like we for the listeners, just so you know, like next week Kim and I are like getting together to like spend some time in prayer and planning for the year. And so like we haven't really talked about it thoroughly, but do you just have like any inklings or feelings of stuff that you want to share?
I don't know where it's gonna go. I I feel like there's gonna be something else. It's gonna shift in another way. We'll
Mm-hmm.
start season 3 in February. And um I mean, season 2 was a big shift for us. I don't even know that we knew it was going to be such a big shift. And then it kind of really was like
Right.
really changed gears there. So I'm excited to see, I don't know, how the Lord leads us and like what he has us do. I mean, if you don't know anything about us, just know this. We only started the podcast because the Lord showed us or told us to do it. And so this was uh kind of going off of a leading and going in a little bit blind, but
Mm-hmm.
willing to be led. And I hope, if nothing else, we continue that, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't have any like foreseeing of what it will be, but I am excited to get together and seek about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What
do
about
have I think a similar thing where it's like I don't have any at the moment like exact I think this is going to happen, but I have some thoughts of I think it will kind of change again. Like in the same way that we went from like um, the same way we went from crypto and mostly just being ourselves to more spirituality side of things and having lots of guests. I do think it'll shift, something will shift again, or just grow, like evolve, morph into something deeper. uh, but I don't have an exact thing yet. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like.
Yeah, same wild stuff. I do hope. Okay, so I know we say this in a lot of episodes, but it's true. I hope that we have even more interaction with people who are listening.
Mm, I was just
That's
thinking
stuff
that,
that I really love. Like, I want
yeah.
to know, do you completely disagree? Have you had something similar happen? Do you have an inkling for something that's happening or something that's blown your mind or whatever? Did something we say spark something else that sparked something else? I don't know. I love that kind of stuff, and I really do
Mhm.
hope to hear more from people and where they are on their journeys.
Yeah. I The community piece of it, I think, is amazing, and I would love to see that like continue to grow. One of the things we did with our community this year was a book club,
Mhm.
and uh that was pretty amazing. Like, we didn't have as much participation as we wanted, but we had consistent participation. And that's pretty amazing.
So true.
Several people joined us live, and several people joined like the recordings afterwards, and we made it clear through a whole book.
Did. And I didn't have to fake it once. Have you ever been in a book club where you like don't read the chapter? I feel like I was in like Bible studies, not Bible study, like but like a Bible study where you do a book, right? Uh so through the church or whatever, and would have like not read the chapters and then had to just try to hang.
I definitely had some small group experiences like that.
Right. But this wasn't like that. Like it was good. I didn't have any of those times. Um and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome that Paul Young, the author, was willing to
Mhm.
come on for our final session of the book club and just kind of talk about his process and his thoughts about the book and answer questions that we had and that kind of stuff. I thought that was so cool.
So amazing. And that was such a fun time, fun episode, fun experience.
For sure. And he's like such a nice guy.
Mhm.
He's one of those people like we start talking to him and immediately we feel like we've known each other for a long time. You know, I think when the first time we talked to him, and I loved this, before we recorded, he just got on. He's like, "Oh, you guys want to know something cool that happened today?" And then just like started telling us something about what happened in his day that was cool and blessed him. And it just kind of, I think that set the tone.
Yeah. It it was amazing. Like, the way he just like showed up and met us, like just showed up and was like, okay, like let's have a conversation. I'm happy to have a conversation with you guys. Like, that's that was amazing. Yeah, he was a really special guest that we had.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know when it's going to happen in season 3, but we do plan on doing another book club, and we are open to ideas. We have some ideas of some books that I think would be great for it. Um, but I would love to hear listener suggestions on, like, are there books you'd love to like read and discuss? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. I'd be curious to hear those recommendations. I feel like we have our little pool of books because this is what we know.
yeah,
I'd love other suggestions too.
yeah. Yeah. I would love to branch out to something I've never read,
Mhm.
because the next book that I think would be a great one is one I've read more than once. I still think it'd be a great book, but like I think having some listener suggestions, yeah, it'd be fun.
That would be awesome. And also the one that we have kind of in our back pocket if we don't get any suggestions. I don't think we can get the author to come on.
Probably not.
I think he's been gone for 100 years.
I think possibly, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one, but I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts about either what we have coming up or where we've been?
No, I don't think so. I'm just really grateful for all of the things of 2023, like the good and the bad, the really, really rough times. I'm still grateful for it. Like, even in the lowest, there's such growth, you
Yeah.
know, and some of the best times, same thing, you know what I mean? Like core memory unlocked. I just think
Yeah.
it was a good year, and I'm grateful for all that happened personally and on the podcast and in business and relationally, all of the things. I'm grateful to you, Josh. You're like my favorite podcast partner.
Oh,
And I don't know, I'm excited to see where we go. What about you?
same. Um, yeah, I don't know that I have any final thoughts. I really want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to every single one of the listeners. If I could thank you individually, I would. Um, but truly, thank you for coming on this journey with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your opinions, your ideas. Um, Share amazing guests with us that you'd love to see. Share book ideas, share episode ideas. Like we love our community, and we'd love to see that grow some more. So truly, thank you all.
Yeah, really good stuff. Cool. Well, happy New Year's, you guys.
Happy New
Hope
Year.
the year ahead is amazing and mind blowing and full of all of the good things.
Yes.
Okay. See you next time.
Thank you for sticking around. Listen for new episodes every Monday and Thursday. Find us on all social media platforms by searching for Market Mystics. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. Visit upperroomcd.com, where you can find more information about the hosts, projects, and guests. Go deeper by booking a coaching appointment focused on redefining identity and wealth in your life. See you next time.